After months of relative calm along the Israel-Lebanon border, tensions have escalated yet again after Israel launched airstrikes in southern Lebanon. And this is after it intercepted 3 rockets fired from the Lebanese territory. According to Lebanon's health ministry, at least 1 person has been killed and 7 others wounded in the Israeli strikes in the coastal city of Tyre. The IDF released footage of the strikes in southern Lebanon, which also showed Israeli fighter jets taking off from an undisclosed location. The mayor of northern Israel's border town of Metula, which had come under rocket fire from Lebanon, has urged the Netanyahu government to return to war. The mayor called on the Israeli authorities to act offensively and make sure that not one bullet is fired ever again at northern communities. Meanwhile, Hamas has confirmed that an Israeli strike in Gaza's Khan Yunis killed its political leader Salah al-Bardawil. Coming to the southern part of Israel, on the southern border in Gaza, Israel's renewed military offensive has horrified and stunned medical workers as more and more children fall victim to Israeli strikes. According to the UNICEF, over 130 children have been killed since the fresh Israeli offensive began earlier this week. Hundreds more have been injured and many are believed to be trapped beneath the rubble of their destroyed homes.
I was bathing my child after heating the water when we suddenly heard an explosion. We had nothing left with us. My son Wayad was with me. This is my daughter. She is the only one who survived the attack. My 4 children were killed in 2 previous bombings, and this is the 3rd time.
We have received a large number of injuries, most of them children. The nature of the injuries was fatal, especially for children, as their small bodies cannot withstand this amount of explosives and the brutality of the bombing.
Meanwhile, the chief foreign policy advisor to Prime Minister Netanyahu, Ophir Falk, has said that military pressure on Hamas will bring the remaining hostages home. In an interview, Falk said that the IDF will do whatever it takes to enforce the ceasefire.
Hamas unfortunately understands military pressure and only military pressure. In November 2023, we got over 80 hostages out for one reason: military pressure. That's the only reason. The only reason they went back to the negotiation table was military pressure. And that's what we're doing right now, and we're going to get all of the hostages back home.
But families of hostages remain skeptical of Netanyahu's actions. They have accused Netanyahu of choosing death by continuing with the military offensive in Gaza instead of agreeing to a truce to bring the remaining alive hostages home.
Only a signed deal to bring them all home in one step and putting an end to this war will ensure their return. But now there is a horrifying possibility of our hostages becoming MIA, missing in action, lost to us forever. Netanyahu is prepared to have all 59 Israeli hostages become MIA just so he can cling to his seat of power.
Netanyahu is also facing heavy criticism for his decision to dismiss Ronen Bar, the head of Israel's domestic intelligence service, Shin Bet. Thousands of Israelis took to the streets to protest Bar's dismissal and accused Netanyahu of prolonging the war in Gaza to cling on to power. But Prime Minister Netanyahu continues to remain defiant. In a video message, Netanyahu said, Ronen Bar will not stay as head of Shin Bet. There will not be civil war and Israel will remain a democratic state. All right, to discuss more, we are now being joined by Adrian Calmel from New York. He's a fellow at Arabian Peninsula Institute, terrorism and Middle Eastern scholar, as well as the author of forthcoming book on Hezbollah. Adrian, always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for joining me on World DNA. We almost seem to be seeing a repeat of what all has transpired in this region, whether it's between Israel and Hezbollah or Israel and Hamas. At this point, do you feel extended military pressure is the way to continue with this?
Thank you for having me back, Siobhan. It's great to see you again. It's with the Islamic Republic. They understand force. They understand kinetic action. They understand that at a certain point, they cannot continue to go on like this, where they're firing from multiple locations. Because what we saw today coming out of Hezbollah, or out of Lebanon, was Hezbollah, although they're denying it, firing multiple rockets. And it was the largest breach of the ceasefire. And that kind of underscores the inability of the Lebanese armed forces to demilitarize southern Lebanon. So Metula, which has been bombarded since the beginning of October 7th, I mean, the town's virtually destroyed, and the Israeli people need to be repatriated back to that, to those villages. It's cost an enormous toll on Israel. Then you look at Hamas; they've also breached the ceasefire by launching rockets, and then we cannot ignore what the Houthis have been doing with their actions in firing ballistic missiles and drones targeting both Israel and U.S. fleets. So I don't see a scale down in with the military action until the Islamic Republic receives a clear message that this has got to stop, and you cannot compete with U.S. intelligence, U.S. military firepower, and with our allies on the ground.
Adrian, even in the past, we saw that some kind of talks in negotiations finally got to the hostages returning, which essentially seems to be, or at least for most people in Israel, that's the big priority at this point. And even people across the border, whether it's Gaza, whether it's in Lebanon, they don't want to see civilians dying anymore, or least of all kids dying at this point. As far as the negotiations are concerned, the West Asia envoy, Steve Witkoff, seems to be extremely and heavily involved in leading the talks between Russia and Ukraine. And as is the Secretary of State at this point, most of the diplomacy, or I would say the diplomatic heads, are focused on solving that or resolving that issue first. Where do you feel West Asia only seems to be brewing in hostilities at this point? So how can negotiations restart at this point, do you feel?
Well, I would say that Witkoff, I don't deem him as a very serious person, as a diplomat. I mean, let's face it, the guy is a realtor. His hotel or his place in New York City got bailed out to the tune of over $600 million by Qatar, and he's the one handling the negotiations. Now, when you're talking about Senator Rubio and the negotiations there, and he, although there has been a focus on the Ukraine, he is very much a voice of reason. He's got moral clarity, and he understands the Islamic Republic and what needs to. So I wouldn't say attention has been drawn away. Witkoff is more of a distraction for me. I would watch what Rubio is saying and the attention that he's paying to the region, because he has made some pretty forceful statements over the last couple of days about the Islamic Republic, about them bearing responsibility for Houthis launching weapons, etc. So I wouldn't say that the United States is taking their eye off the region. It's just trying to put out fires in multiple areas.
And coming to those multiple areas, let me come to the next point, which is the Houthis. And that seems to be brewing like it hasn't brewed between, because now it's directly between the Houthis and the US. Where do you feel that is going to leave this specific area, when it comes to Yemen and the US, and of course the direct involvement of Iran there?
Well, this is a very interesting development, because from my understanding, what has happened is the United States has said, we'll take care of the Houthis. Now, over the course of the better part of a year, the United States Navy has been sitting in the Red Sea watching over 200 strikes take place and really not countering. What this has done is provided unbelievable intelligence. We also have to remember that on the ground, AQAP, Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, has also had a very strong footprint there. So the United States has special operators working in those areas. So what you're seeing now is an increase better intelligence. We understand where the ammunition depots are. We understand where the leadership is. We understand where the drone manufacturing bases are, where the ballistic missiles are being stored. So this, and also cutting off the lifeline, what is bringing in revenue for the Houthis, such as hitting the port of Hodeidah. Once Hodeidah was taken over by the Houthis, it provided them a vital oil lifeline, which they've been able to use to, to finance their operations against the region and against their own people.
All right, Adrian, thank you so much for joining me. Always a pleasure having you with me on World DNA. That was Adrian Calmel joining me from New York.
Thanks, Shivan.